And now, Good Mic Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
When it comes to beautiful days for a wingy, they don't get any more beautiful than this. What's going on, guys? Happy weekend to you, and welcome to your Winged Eagle Podcast for August the 24th, 2024. We are 1 day away from AEW All In tomorrow. Wembley Stadium, London. It's going to be a hoot. That pay-per-view is looking tremendous. And we are going to be here tomorrow night, about an hour after the show goes off the air, to do a full review of AEW All In. Now, on Thursday, I dropped my predictions. So we're not going to do any predictions today. I ran through the entire card and did predictions on Thursday. So that video is available right now if you want to check that out. We are going to talk a little bit about the All In card. We're going to talk a little bit about Dynamite. And I'm probably going to reiterate some of my predictions. But if you want the full predictions for the entire show, check out that video that I dropped on Thursday. Today is going to be probably kind of a light podcast. We do have some wrestling news to get into, and like I said, we're going to do a lot of previewing and speculation on tomorrow's All In. We're also going to talk about last night's SmackDown and the Bash in Berlin card that now looks like it is finalized. Triple H loves his 5-match PLEs, and we now have 5, so that is probably all set. And we'll be talking about, the next 2 big pay-per-views, All In, All Out, and Bash in Berlin as well on WWE side of things. We're going to talk about Ricochet signing with AEW, if we may or may not see him tomorrow. We're going to talk about Ronda Rousey's apology as well, issuing that long statement 11 years after sharing that Sandy Hook conspiracy video. She had an Reddit AMA that went horribly wrong last week that I think finally triggered this statement. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Like I said, we'll run down SmackDown last night a little bit. We'll run down a little bit of Dynamite. I don't want to go through all of Wednesday's Dynamite. The show was pretty awesome in Cardiff. I really like the setup and the vibe of the show. But since the pay-per-view is tomorrow, we don't really need to dissect the entire card and the results of Wednesday. I just want to talk about a couple of key points and what that could mean heading into All In for a lot of these matches. So today is going to be probably more of a casual hangout discussion than an actual podcast with a lot of segmented things to talk about, because my news or my notes are lighter than they normally are on Saturdays. So should be a fun little 2-hour podcast here to kick back and chill out and hang out with each other. Hopefully you guys are having a great day and a great weekend. Thank you again for being here. Please do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button, give us a like here, and if you're not a subscriber and you like what you hear, please consider sticking around and subscribing to the channel. Memberships are open, so are super chats. I will answer any super chats that come through today, and we will have a fun one, I think. Happy weekend, happy pay-per-view weekend. Now, unfortunately, since tomorrow is an international show and I live in California, I'm gonna have to get up at 9 o'clock in the morning to watch this damn thing. So we're not gonna be able to do a watch party for the pay-per-view tomorrow. I work nights. I'm going to be going to bed tonight at 4 a.m., then to turn around and wake up at 9 a.m. to watch a pay-per-view and have to do that on camera. I don't want you guys having to look at me with, cross-eyed and not knowing where the hell I am, that type of thing. So no watch party for the show tomorrow. Unfortunately, that will be the case for most international PLEs. I'm not going to get up at 9 a.m. and put myself in front of the camera. I don't want that, and y'all damn sure don't want that. So no watch party tomorrow, but we will be here in the afternoon to review it. Now, normally on Sundays, we do our classic pay-per-view watch-alongs, but this review is going to kind of get in the way of that. Maybe I'll give it some thought tonight. Maybe we'll throw an impromptu in your house watch along or something tomorrow night after the stream, but I feel like the stream is going to bleed into, or the All In review is going to bleed into the time that we normally start the classic watch alongs anyway. So tomorrow is mostly just going to be dedicated to All In. The link to tomorrow's review, I should say, is already up on the channel, and I currently have that scheduled for, I'm kind of guessing, I have 3 p.m. So basically 24 hours from now, basically, we plan to go live for an All-In review. And by then, the show should have been over for around an hour. So I might extend that. I might delay it an extra 30 minutes or something like that tomorrow. But just keep in mind, about an hour-ish after All In concludes, we will be here to talk about it. Let me say hello to people who are hanging out in the chat right now, and then we will jump into our wrestling news and whatnot. Good to see Superman, Bass Fisher, and Tatanani, and Isaac and Big J, and Nick Musser, Sonic Plays, and Barry. We got some early channel members in here. Colin, thank you for the $2, my friend. Did you see the chair buckling under Briscoe? Did you see the chair buckling under? No. What the hell happened there? I did not see any chair buckling under Briscoe. What did I miss? Is that something Dynamite related? I only kind of got a casual sense of what went down on Dynamite because it was taped on Wednesday, and we did talk a little bit about it on Thursday, but I read the results and only watched maybe 65-70% of Dynamite in its entirety, so I'm not sure what I've missed about chairs buckling under Briscoes. Don't even know what that means. On Collision. Is Collision airing now or something? Collision was also taped. I don't know what's going on with Collision. I was just assuming it's airing tonight like it always does, but if that's different, I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm confused on the Collision stuff. I do have the Collision lineup for tonight that I'm assuming airs at its normal time, but maybe it's already aired for you guys. I don't know, man. I don't know. But we're going to talk about a lot of AEW stuff. It was on Collision where Briscoe launched himself over the ring. Okay, well, Collision hasn't aired here yet, I don't think. So Colin Wright is confusing me a little bit. Collision, I think, airs tonight unless it's aired early and I'm unaware of it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, let's start getting into what we're going to discuss today. And I think we need to open up with a very sad anniversary. 1 year ago, at this very moment, we were all sitting here together predicting AEW All In 2023. And we were here to tribute Terry Funk, who had passed away the day before. In the middle of our stream, as we're going about our business here, talking about Terry Funk, talking about All In, my chat starts lighting up. People start telling us that Bray Wyatt has passed away. And we learned of Bray Wyatt's death together, all of us, live on the internet. And easily the most shocking breaking news to ever happen in the middle of one of our streams. Very, very sad thing to have to witness, especially when we're, trying to, focus our emotions on Terry Funk and his legacy and his career and what he meant and trying to put all of that into words. And then in the middle of that, learning that Bray Wyatt unexpectedly passes away at the age of 36 from a heart attack. And that was just nuts. Just a really sad couple of anniversaries. We lost Terry Funk on the 23rd, and we lost Bray Wyatt on the 24th last year. So just wanted to pay my respects to both men, both icons, both legends. We did a big, like I said, last year, we did a big tribute to Terry Funk, and then a couple of days after his death, maybe the day after, I know I was up here for a long Bray Wyatt video where we just tributed his career. And that was a sad time, man. And then we turned right around and went into AEW All In, Wembley Stadium, 80,000 people, the CM Punk and Jack Perry fight, which leads to Punk's exit. It's been a crazy year. It's been a crazy year since we sat here together and learned that news. So I just wanted to acknowledge that today is the 1 year anniversary of the passing of Bray Wyatt. And now that we see the Wyatt Six currently in WWE, this really, so far pretty fun faction consisting of Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis and Nikki Cross, of course, and Bo Dallas and Rowan. And seeing them carry on the legacy and the spirit kind of Bray Wyatt, in a faction very similar to or exactly like something that Bray Wyatt would have done if he was here. And with the Uncle Howdy character being portrayed by his brother Bo Dallas. And we saw, Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt briefly interact prior to Bray's passing. It's nice to see that, Wyatt's just creative legacy and spirit continues to live on in WWE despite his passing, and it's just still a death that's been really tough to wrap our head around because it had been many, many, many years since an active, on television, routinely wrestler had passed away. I think you had to go back to maybe like a Benoit, go back that far to the last time that, somebody passed away when they were in the middle of an active run in the company. And even though we've had lots and lots of deaths, that type of situation is still relatively rare and doesn't come along very often. And so it's just one that still stings, and it's been a year and still really kind of hard to really wrap your head around that death. It's rough. So rest in peace, Bray Wyatt, and always keeping his family in our thoughts and stuff, because it's been a rough year for him and JoJo and his kids and all of that. So just wanted to give the Rotundo family some love and offer our well wishes to them, and not to mention the family of Terry Funk. And I believe Dory Funk Jr. took, what did he take, like a light tube to the back or something in some hardcore match over the last couple of days? I saw something like that. I don't know, maybe it was Japan. He was in some hardcore type of match at 83 years old and got hit with something. I wish I would have written that down, but Dory still in there doing his thing. Anyway, all the best to the Rotundo and Funk families. It wouldn't be a Winged Eagle podcast in the last few months, or it wouldn't be a 2024 Winged Eagle podcast, if we didn't at least bring up the latest in the AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery media rights negotiations and deal that has been imminent for months. How many times am I going to come up here and say the deal's imminent? It's going to be done any second now. Any minute we're going to get the deal. It's going to be beautiful. Big, beautiful deal. It's going to be the most beautiful, beautiful deal. Big, beautiful deal. And it's going to be for a money increase, and it's going to have a streaming platform, and Dynamite and Rampage and Collision have homes on TNT and TBS for many years to come. I do believe that is going to be the case. It's just, it really, really is taking forever here. Now, it is All In weekend. I would think that if I'm Tony Khan and this deal is getting done kind of as we speak, I might tie in this deal or announcement to the All In festivities. Maybe he comes out. We heard that Sting might be on his way to London. If he's not getting involved in the coffin match with Jack and Darby, maybe he comes out to the ring with Tony Khan to announce not only maybe the All In attendance, but the new media rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery that will keep Dynamite on TBS, keep Collision on TNT. And hopefully, since Tony Khan on, I guess, a media call was spotted wearing a Max hat, hopefully this deal includes some sort of streaming availability for AEW's content, whether it be their video library, past Dynamites, pay-per-views, Ring of Honor stuff, or if we can watch future pay-per-views on a streaming platform instead of having to shell out $50 a pop, that would be ideal. That's what I'm hoping for. Now, our friend Andrew Zarian tweeted this out yesterday, and I quote, "Warner Brothers Discovery sources have expressed continued confidence that a deal is happening with a significant increase. Plans for AEW content in 2025 on Warner Brothers Discovery continue to shape up." And then he followed that up with a tweet, one-word tweet, quote, "imminent." So imminent seems to be the word. We talked a little bit about this earlier on in the week. I even mentioned it in the predictions. Fightful Select had a nice write-up on this last week about the latest in the negotiations. It has never felt, even though we keep hearing the deal's going to happen, and it still hasn't happened. Nobody has been in panic mode. There has been no concern whatsoever from Tony Khan's side of things or Warner Brothers Discovery's side of things in terms of this relationship going forward and being extended. Both parties seem to have always been supremely confident that a deal would get done. But since Warner Brothers Discovery is kind of on the hot seat right now, they were undervalued by about $9 billion. They lost the NBA. Lots of turmoil. They had some shakeups at the top that we talked about last week as well. So with all of that going on, as well, at the same time as AEW trying to negotiate this new deal, and over the past year or so, AEW has seen a decline in ratings. They're kind of holding steady right now, but overall, ratings and interest is down a bit in the company, and that was getting a lot of people concerned, for their media rights deal. And I think that really all that was going to do was maybe affect the financials, the dollar amount or whatnot, regardless of what AEW's ratings are and how you compare them to WWE. AEW still lands on 1, 2, or 3 in cable every single night that they air pro wrestling. So it's not, they're a property that Warner Brothers Discovery would obviously want to keep, but it has had a lot of fans a little bit uneasy, like, well, what is the future here? Are they going to finally sign this deal, or is AEW going to have to look for a new home? But I never really thought that was the case because, much like WCW back in the day, if you don't have a TV time slot, what is your company worth? So Tony Khan and AEW continue to plan out years in advance. They got the all-in location for next year set for Texas. They have got no plans of going anywhere, so they're operating with the assumption that they're going to have a TV deal in place. So I would like to think that as big of a weekend as this is going to be for AEW, that maybe this year, instead of a huge backstage disaster and distraction taking away from what should be a great show, maybe they can have some good news this year. Maybe they can announce that there is a new deal, a new 5-year deal to keep Dynamite and Collision on TBS and TNT, and we can get some sort of AEW availability on Max or a streaming platform of some kind. Like I said, don't know if that will be past pay-per-views. Hopefully future pay-per-views where you can maybe just pay a reduced price. Maybe with a Max subscription, you get the pay-per-views for $15, $20, something like that might be helpful. Or a place where you can access past AEW pay-per-views, the Ring of Honor library, which I still think has value to it, especially from some of the footage it has from 20 plus years ago. And, all of their past TVs. I think that would be a great place to be able to have that available to us as fans. So that's all I'm really hoping. And I've said this every time we've talked about the media rights deal, that I don't really care about the financials. Obviously, I want AEW to do well and to grow. And if they get a rights increase, which makes them profitable, awesome. But as a fan, none of that shit affects me. What affects me is being able to consume their product conveniently and regularly, and I would like that to be on TBS, TNT, and hopefully a streaming platform. So we'll see how accurate Andrew Zarian is with this imminent tweet, and if we actually do get some announcements maybe this weekend. If not, maybe on the way back from over to the States as we head into next week's Dynamite. But I would like to think that this would be announced and made official pretty soon. Now, speaking of things being official, big signing coming to AEW this week. We learned Ricochet has officially reached a multi-year deal with the company. Fightful Select had an update on this week as well, where they did state that he is officially with the company now, and he is expected to appear at All In. Now, I don't really consider that to be a spoiler. I debated whether or not to talk about this, but that news is everywhere. You can't avoid it. It's all over social media and the internet. I'm not telling you guys something you don't know. You all saw the news. Ricochet has officially inked a deal with AEW. And if Ricochet is signing with AEW and he's officially under contract, and they got a big, huge pay-per-view coming, it's not out of the ordinary to suspect that he might be a part of the show. I'm not spoiling anything by saying, hey, look for Ricochet to show up on this show somewhere. Now, if he does show up tomorrow, where does he show up? Does he just come out and wave? Or does he get involved in a match? I think the only match he could really get involved in would be the Casino Gauntlet match, which in the predictions I mistook for a battle royal. For some reason, I thought it was a battle royal. It's not. It's a gauntlet match. And the only names announced for that, I think, are Orange Cassidy. At the time I predicted the pay-per-view, I think the only name was Orange Cassidy. Now, I predicted Hangman Page to win. I do believe Hangman has entered himself into that, right? So Hangman will be in it, so my prediction could be right. The winner of this gets an AEW World title shot. Ricochet winning this, I don't know if I want him to be honest. I want to see Ricochet come in. If he earns a title shot, I want that title shot to be for the international title or the American title that I expect Will Ospreay to win tomorrow when he beats MJF. So if Ricochet comes in, that's the match I want. I want Ospreay and Ricochet somewhere. I don't know. It feels very TNA-ish for them to bring in Ricochet to win the Casino Gauntlet match and just get a title shot right out of the gate. I don't know if that's how I would use Ricochet here. I'm not saying Ricochet isn't going to deserve a world title shot someday. There's a lot of fans who believe he's going to be booked in AEW exactly like he was booked in WWE. So maybe this is a good way to prove that, no, we want this guy to be one of our top performers. Then maybe he would come in and win this. So I don't know. I think it would be just as fun to see Ricochet, come out and confront somebody, but a guy as athletic as Ricochet, if he's healthy and available, you kind of want him in the ring. So I feel like he's going to be in the Casino Gauntlet match, but if he is, I feel like that guarantees that he's going to win it. Are you going to bring in Ricochet and then pin him in his first match? Is that what we're doing? So I feel like if Ricochet shows up in this Gauntlet match, Ricochet wins the Gauntlet match. So we will see. Either way, Ricochet is on his way to All Elite Wrestling. He'll probably turn up tomorrow at the pay-per-view. If he does not, maybe they'll save him for Dynamite, but I think at least, Ricochet should appear. They might do something where Tony Khan just comes out and announces him and announces Ricochet, and he comes out and hugs Tony Khan. But Ricochet's the caliber of athlete that you would want to have in the ring doing his Ricochet stuff. What a debut for him. What a debut. Think about that. That's why I think, the Gauntlet match, even though I'm not sure if that's how I would do it if I was a booker, the Gauntlet match, him coming in and winning that seems like a pretty good way to launch this guy into the company. His debut is going to be winning a championship opportunity in front of 50,000 people in the stadium show. That's not bad, and then he can come in and get that quick match with Danielson and lose. I don't think he'll win that championship when if he does win the Gauntlet, but it'll give him a big high-profile match right when he comes into the company. The only problem is that just leaves him nowhere to go but down. I think it might be more fun if Hangman Page wins the Gauntlet because he ties in much better with the Swerve and Danielson stuff. So we will see what happens tomorrow, but Ricochet apparently is officially now signed with AEW, and I believe he's in London. People might be seeing him there around town. We will have to wait and see what he does tomorrow. I also think it would be great if Jamie Hayter were to show up. Now, Saraya, we're going to talk about Dynamite in a minute. She had a world title match against Toni Storm on Wednesday, which she lost. So we'll see if she comes out to the ring and does the whole deal where she demands to have an opponent and then Hayter comes out, beats her ass. That might be kind of fun. We'll talk more about All In here in just a minute when we talk about Dynamite. But next up, I want to talk about Rowdy Ronda Rousey. Oh, man, we got to talk about Ronda. Oh, man, we're talking about Steve Borden Jr. I saw a photo of him. He's in London, I guess, right now, maybe for the All In festivities. Took a picture, I don't know, somewhere outside, and looked like he had his girlfriend or wife with him. He just looks so much like his dad. Like, I cannot believe how much he looks like Sting. It's crazy. It is crazy. Wishing the best for him. All right, cool. All right, so let's get into this this Ronda Rousey news. So, when was this? It was last night? Night before. I guess it was last night. What the hell's today? No, it was Thursday night. Yeah, it was Thursday night. I watched her post this. She posted this at about 11 p.m. California time, so it would have been like 1 a.m. on the East Coast. Ronda Rousey posted a lengthy apology on social media, apologizing for the conspiracy video she shared 11 years ago on Twitter. It was a Sandy Hook conspiracy video. Now, Ronda Rousey has received a lot of shit for that over the years. I've constantly heard people bring that up, but I wasn't really aware of the extent that it went to. I mean, I knew that Ronda Rousey shared a video back in 2013, but I didn't necessarily know if that meant, she is, an Alex Jones level type of, conspiracy theorist where she, believes this stuff and still believes this stuff. I really didn't know where, any of that lied. But a lot of fans continuously bring that up about Ronda Rousey. And last week, she attempted to hold a Reddit AMA, and it went horribly wrong. Things went awry, and she was mercilessly trolled. Every single question was about the Sandy Hook video and the conspiracy theory. And they just been giving her shit about it. Well, that led her to post a very lengthy video on social media that I have to say came off very sincere. And I read the whole thing. I think I was one of the first people to see it because I just happened to see it come up right when she posted it. And I'm like, oh, this ought to be good. I'm like, I guess that Reddit AMA is really what kind of triggered this decision. Excuse me. And after reading the statement and the apology, it really did feel sincere from where I'm sitting. And I'm not going to read it all. I'll read a couple of tidbits here, but basically in the apology, she admitted her mistake and she made no attempt to defend the decision at all. She also explained why it took 11 years, because a lot of people, of course, naturally, what took you so long? Why did you post it in the middle of the night? They're going to be just digging as hard as they can for ulterior motives. And with this, it was just hard for me to really, really find any. I understand that there are people who will, get busted for something or have something happen and then have to be in damage control mode. This is something that happened 11 years ago that has really been following her around. And her explanations for why it took her 11 years, seemed pretty genuine. The fear that bringing this up again would only draw attention back to it and boost the traffic of these type of videos and these type of conspiracy videos. And she even said that her publisher begged her to take out the apology in her memoirs. She said she's drafted thousands of apologies over the years, but never released anything. Finally wanted to put something in her book. Her publisher begged her to take it out of there, feeling that it would just be nothing but a distraction and whatnot. And when she described, why it took her 11 years, it kind of made sense. Here's a couple of things that she said about this. She said, 11 years ago, I made the single most regrettable decision of my life. I watched a Sandy Hook conspiracy video and reposted it on Twitter. I didn't even believe it, but was so horrified at the truth that I was grasping for an alternative fiction to cling to instead. I quickly realized my mistake and took it down, but the damage was done. By some miracle, it seemingly slipped under the media's radar. I was never asked about it, so I never spoke of it again, afraid that calling attention to it would have the opposite effect of the intended effect. It could increase the views of those conspiracy videos and selfishly inform even more people that I was ignorant, self-absorbed, and tone deaf enough to share that in the first place. So she clearly, admits that this was a mistake. She doesn't still believe these things. It was a bad decision followed by instant regret. Haven't we all been there? I mean, I think we can all relate in some way to doing something that you instantly regret. And it's all about how you handle it, how you own up to it. And she goes on to say that I apologize that this came 11 years too late, but to those affected by the Sandy Hook massacre, from the bottom of my heart and the depths of my soul, I am so sorry for the hurt I've caused. I can't even begin to imagine the pain you've endured, and words cannot describe how thoroughly remorseful and ashamed I am of myself for contributing to it. I've regretted it every day of my life since, and I will continue to do so until the day I die. And to anyone else that's fallen down the black hole of bullshit, it doesn't make you edgy or an independent thinker. You're not doing your due diligence, entertaining every possibility by digesting these conspiracies. They will only make you feel powerless, afraid, miserable, and isolated. You're doing nothing but hurting others and yourself. Regardless of how many bridges you've burned over it, stop digging yourself into a deeper hole. So she is, admitting everything, and she's not even trying to defend her actions. Well, the way I did it because I was thinking this way or whatever. She realizes how horrible it was. She realizes the pain that she caused. And usually when you read these long drawn out apologies, you can kind of read through the lines, and I'm really having trouble doing that here. I feel, now you guys can make your own judgments on this, but from where I sit, and this is coming from somebody who, this is just a guess here, but I'd be willing to bet and believe that some of Ronda Rousey's political stances I probably don't agree with, but in terms of this, it seems genuine. It feels like she's deeply sorry. It seems like she feels bad. Make your own judgments, like I said, but I'm choosing to give her the benefit of the doubt here. I'm choosing to take her at her word. And when she is calling herself ignorant and tone deaf and stupid for what she did, she's owning up to this. She's not trying to excuse it. She's not trying to defend it or make excuses for herself. She's owning up to all of it and apologizing to the families. Now, she doesn't have to apologize to you or me. We weren't affected by the Sandy Hook tragedies. It's the families. It's up to them if they want to accept her apology. But just from a wrestling fan's perspective, or just a decent human being's perspective, reading something like that, I'm happy. I'm hoping she can put it behind her. There's too much negativity in this world as it is. And it's not like, there's a big, humongous difference between a mentally deficient ape like Alex Jones and the other conspiracy nuts, that are so vile and fucking stupid and evil, and Ronda Rousey. There's a big difference between those people and Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey isn't touring the world preaching this bullshit. This was a one-time mistake, and I never knew the extent of it. I always heard that Ronda Rousey was a Sandy Hook conspiracy theorist, but it's just one video that she shared that she instantly regretted. She didn't continue to share these things. She wasn't spreading this message over the last 11 years. This was one shared video. It would be another thing if this went on for a couple of years and she had 5 years of this bullshit and then she finally came to the realization that she was being stupid. This was one video, one share. I can let a lot of things slide, and this is something that I can let slide. And like I said, it's up to the Sandy Hook families if they want to, forgive and accept Ronda Rousey's apology. But I think when it comes to, people really being disrespectful towards the families of the victims of the Sandy Hook massacre, there are a lot worse than Ronda Rousey. And she seems, endlessly apologetic for it. And reading it really did feel genuine. And it was kind of nice to read an apology that you believed, because there are so many other situations where you're like, you're only saying that because you got caught, or you're only saying that because this happened. And granted, the Reddit AMA had a lot to do with this, but it sounds like this is something that's really troubled her for a long time. And there might be a lot of other things. A lot of people have brought up some transphobic issues with Ronda Rousey, and I just haven't seen with my own eyes any of that evidence. So I don't really feel comfortable talking about any of that. If she has those feelings too, then she can fuck right the fuck off. But I'm trying to, separate the issues. If she's got other aspects of her political stances or beliefs or social beliefs that I don't agree with, she very well might. But I'm judging this situation and this situation alone. And I don't want to just automatically make her guilty because she might have some other stupid opinions out there too. This one, she seems to understand the nature and the severity of her mistake, and she's owned up to it. She apologized. She seemed sincere, and for where good mic work sits, I accept her apology. So let me know how you guys feel about that, if this was something that you're willing to accept. And like I said, it's really not even up to us. It's the families of the victims who she owes this apology to, and it's up to them to accept it. But I am glad that she seems remorseful and seems genuine in her apology. That's the vibe I got from it. It didn't come off dishonest at all. So all the best to Ronda Rousey, and hopefully she can move on from this and maybe finally put this behind her, because I'm not going to even attempt to make Ronda Rousey the victim here, okay? So don't mistake what I'm saying. But you can imagine if there's something that's ever just stuck in your craw, or just really something that you've done in your past that you really, really, really wish you could undo. I'm sure you can all think of something. I can think of a few. I'm sure you guys can too. So just try, it's all about just being able to relate, and so I can understand, doing something, saying something that you just feel horrible for. I've said before, I'm very, very lucky that I'm 47 years old and social media wasn't in existence when I was the ages 15 to 23, because I would have said some pretty stupid fucking shit online. Nothing hateful or racist or ignorant, but some pretty stupid stuff. And a lot of it I probably would regret. So, I'm lucky, so I think when we're younger and we're just in a different space, there's all a time in our lives when we were way, way dumber than we are now. So I feel like that's what Ronda was going through then. She made a stupid decision, owned up to it. I'm no George W. Bush fan, but I had a friend that was 1,000% convinced that George Bush himself drove a truck to the World Trade Centers and put the bombs in the basement. He blew it up himself. He pulled the trigger. He had the butt. Psh, and I'm like, dude, no. He believed it 100%. No, Greg, you're just uninformed and stupid. Wake up, Greg. Wake up. George Bush pushed the button that brought down the towers. And I'm like, okay, dude. Like, it's like you can't argue, with people that are just that up their own asses. So, Ronda Rousey had a moment of stupidity. It's all right. I can accept it, let it go. We all say and do dumb shit. And I at least appreciate Ronda Rousey owning up to that and offering that apology. Let me know what you guys think, of that. Is it good enough for you? Not good enough for you? If she can still fuck off, you have the right to make any judgment you want on that. I'm choosing to accept the apology, and hopefully she can move on from this ugly 11-year chapter in her life. Anyway, all the best to Ronda Rousey. I don't really know much about her and her husband. And like I said, politically, I might not agree with, where they stand. But here's one thing I do know I love about the guy. He leapt out of his seat. What's his name? I forget her husband's name. He's also a fighter, right? He jumped out of his seat to protect Bret Hart when he was attacked at the Hall of Fame. He was like one of the first people in the ring to stop the wacko. So you've earned a place in my heart if you protect Bret. So we'll move on from that. Let's talk a little bit about AEW Dynamite this week. Let me see. Do we want to do that? Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Dynamite. We'll move into that next because there's a couple of cool things I want to discuss about Dynamite. Travis Brown, thank you. That's his name. Well, he sprung into action that night though, man. I was like, good for him. Protect Bret at all costs. Anyway, let's move on to AEW Dynamite this week, which did go head-to-head with the Democratic National Convention and still pulled in a decent number ratings-wise, so that is good. Dynamite was also in Cardiff, Wales, and it had a really cool setup. I really liked it. It had a very Japan vibe to it. I liked whatever arena they were in there. It was kind of all just one level and just a cool setup. I'm all about different setups, I like what they've been doing on Collision. I feel like now more than ever, maybe, Dynamite and Collision and WWE are feeling like they have, separate identities. I didn't think really AEW needs to start bringing in the LED ring aprons and shit like that, but they're starting to do that stuff. But I still feel like the shows are having a different identity. I don't want WWE and their competitor to look alike at all. So the fact that AEW, can run smaller venues and have, kind of different or unique looking setups, I really liked. And I loved the setup they had on Dynamite this week. Now, some of the cool things we saw on the show, I really liked the Danielson and Swerve stuff. So, of course, they're setting up for the big match, Wembley Stadium. That's going to be the main event, career versus championship. And Swerve came out to cut a promo. He's got Nigel out there. Nigel's kind of interviewing him, and he's talking shit. Danielson comes out, hits the ring, nails Swerve with the running knees. Swerve retreats, and Danielson picks up the microphone, and he says there's only one question left. Can he beat Swerve Strickland for the AEW title? And then the entire crowd just starts going, yes, yes. So I guess that's one way to get around them not being able to do the yes chants. You can't censor the crowd. So all you have to do is goad the crowd into chanting it. But I guess Danielson can't technically do the yes, yes, yes thing because I think that's property of WWE or that intellectual property is owned by them. But it's a unique way to kind of get around it. Just have the crowd do it instead. And it was very powerful. Those yes chants, 10 years. Over 10 years since he won the title at WrestleMania 30, it feels like those yes chants are as strong as ever. And he was wearing an outfit that looked very familiar, didn't it? And the first thing I thought of when I saw that was the type of outfit he would wear during his eco-friendly title run. But apparently Danielson said that he picked out that shirt because he thought that was the shirt that he retired in. And it does look very similar. So I kind of got him confused. But I was thinking that when he came out wearing that was kind of like his eco-friendly gear. And I've mentioned a couple of times a lot of people say there's no fucking way it's going to happen. But do you think Danielson could maybe go heel at the pay-per-view? And turn, since they've been leaning so heavy into the emotion and whatnot, it would be weird for him to go heel with Bree and Birdie and his family in the front row. That would be a little odd, I ain't gonna lie. But, when I saw him out there in that flannel, and I'm like, that's feels like what he was wearing when he was carrying around the eco-friendly title, and he was screaming about everybody for their wasteful, environmental natures and things like that. So I was like, could he maybe be going back to that? And I even in the predictions mentioned the crazy scenario of maybe a Shane McMahon coming out and they do the WrestleMania 17 thing where McMahon helped Austin win and then shook his hand, and maybe Shane McMahon comes out and helps Danielson win and beats Swerve and they shake hands. That would be a little weird. I think the yes chants, Wembley Stadium, 50,000+ people all chanting in unison, maybe recreating kind of that WrestleMania 30 moment that he had, only this time with the AEW title. That's what I want to see. Even though I think Danielson turning heel would be fun because he makes a great heel. Him winning the championship would be really, really nice. And I kind of just hope that it goes that way. He wins as a babyface. And that's kind of what I'm expecting. I don't see him hanging it up for good because he's been making it very clear leading up to this that if he were to lose, that he would actually retire and never wrestle again. So he's kind of painting himself into a corner there. I feel like he's got to win. He's got to win. We'll see if they add extracurriculars to the match with, maybe a Shane McMahon or maybe a Hangman Page. But whatever they do, I hope it results in Danielson walking out of Wembley with the title. I loved the promo battle between MJF and Will Ospreay. Ospreay, of course, he's on home soil there, sort of. And he came out to a amazing hero's welcome. He had fun with the crowd. I loved the back and forth with the crowd. I loved the British TV show references that he kept making, even though I didn't understand any of those shows or don't watch any of those shows. I still somehow found myself enjoying the fact that he was referencing something and connecting with that particular audience. And then MJF comes out with his American title and he's decked out in red, white, and blue. And it's kind of fun. I mean, granted, in 97, we had the Canada-USA feud that made, American wrestlers baby faces. But this feels fun because this is something that, American wrestling has always done, the hometown American guy against the evil foreigner, and now the American gets to play the evil foreigner all decked out in the red, white, and blue. My country is the greatest, and getting booed and shit on. I like that because we are heels. Our fucking country, we're a bunch of heels over here. So I think we need to portray heels more often, and Max is doing a great job. And the battle between them was a lot of fun because there was Tony Khan had said that if either guy lays hands on the other, there will be a fine. So they were able to kind of get in each other's faces and talk a lot of shit. And MJF kind of lets it slip by accident that jealousy is really what's behind all of this. It's jealousy behind his heel turn. And it's because he saw Ospreay coming and saw a threat to his spot, and that's what led to all of this. So he kind of accidentally let that slip. But then he goes, classic MJF, he's got to bring up something extremely personal, and he mentions that Will Ospreay is a great guy. He's a wonderful dude. He brings up his marriage, and he goes, he is married to he's a great husband, and he's a great father. And then he says, but what the fans don't know is that your wife had a relationship, and that's where the kid came from. And he's raising his kid as his own, even though it isn't his. And then he gets really close to Ospreay on the mic, and he says, the next kid she has won't be yours either. So Ospreay then kind of turns around. He asks Shivani, he goes, Tony Schiavone, TK, Tony Khan's in your ear, right? He goes, ask him how much the fine is. He goes, if I pop this guy or whatever. And Tony Khan says it's 100,000 pounds, which translates into $127,000. And Ospreay's like, okay, fair enough. MJF thinks he's not going to do it. Ospreay decides to hit MJF. He nails him. Security swarms the ring, starts pulling Ospreay off of MJF. And when they do that, MJF is able to pull out the Dynamite Diamond ring out of his pocket and blast Ospreay in the head with it, busting him open, then picking him up and hitting him with a brain buster, covering him and pinning himself. Or counting the pin himself. So Ospreay spent $127,000 on a punch where he ended up getting his ass kicked anyway. That is a waste of money. So if you do the math here, if you do the go home show heel babyface assessment, Ospreay is winning this championship tomorrow, 100%. Another thing MJF does here after the brainbuster and pin is that he teases Tiger Driver. Security swarmed in and stopped him, and they've been talking a lot about that Tiger Driver. And you know Ospreay's going to bust this out in this match. He will hit MJF with the Tiger Driver 100%. And when he does that, when that spot happens in the match, it's going to be good. That crowd's going to go ape shit for it. I would love to see it be the finish, but it might not even be. It might just come, it might be an out of nowhere type of thing. But when it happens, it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to this match. And I believe that Will Ospreay will win the championship back. I feel like he has to. This is a match he has to win, especially with everything that happened, on Dynamite with MJF kind of getting the last laugh here. Generally, that means he's going to lose the title. And when Ospreay wins it, I'm curious if they're going to have the international title nearby or at ringside so he can celebrate with that instead of the American championship. We will have to see. On Dynamite, we also had Darby and FTR beating the Bucks and Jack. That was a fun little 6-man preview to All In. We had Power and Glory, Superplex, and Coffin Drop combo onto Matt Jackson for the win. Super fun match there. And I don't know if you guys saw, we talked a little bit about this, I think, on the predictions, but Jack Perry posted a video on social media of him completely forging a new TNT championship belt. He's a very handy feller. He's melting down metal and he's sanding stuff and he's painting it and rubbing it in the dirt and completely repurposing and transforming the TNT title into his own custom title. And it was badass as hell. I said that I did not take Jack Perry for a handy feller, but he is. He's very handy with tools and shit, and he did a great job with that championship belt. It is a little weird that everybody seems to have a custom title these days, but I really like what Jack Perry did to the TNT championship. I currently have him predicted to beat Darby Allin in the coffin match. I feel like he could definitely have some help in that regard. I don't know what another Darby Allin TNT title run would really do or what the point would be, especially when Darby is also sitting on a world championship shot as well. So we know Darby's going to get a title match against someone in the near future. You also have that gauntlet match tomorrow where somebody else is going to get a title shot. So I think Darby should probably just lose the coffin match. Also on Dynamite, Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné signed their all-in contracts. I'm going to say something here. It's not even that controversial. Britt Baker is just flat out better than Mercedes Moné on the mic. Not even close. Just listening to these two go back and forth, I like Britt's tone, her cadence, the way she delivers her messages so much better than Mercedes, who's all about the head tilting and the snapping type of thing. I'm going to be the best. I can't even do her. I can't even do an impersonation of Mercedes Moné, but you know what I'm talking about. There's a style to how she cuts promos and a style to how Britt Baker cuts promos. Britt Baker cuts promos more like a regular person would, where she's more talking to Mercedes, where Mercedes is trying to put on a show type of thing. And granted, Mercedes is a heel. That's her job, is to be self-absorbed and, oh, look at me. But it doesn't come off genuine, where when Britt Baker speaks, she's really good. I guess I don't want to say underrated. I don't think anybody's ever really shit on Britt Baker's mic ability, but I don't think anybody really praises it either. And I think that she's really good. When I watched this, what I came away with was that I enjoy Britt Baker on the mic, and I do not enjoy Mercedes. And I know that's the way it's supposed to go in a match like this, babyface and heel, but I just very much enjoyed listening to Britt, very much more enjoyed listening to Britt than Mercedes. And the ending was great. The ending was awesome because I guess there is, you got Camille out there, and Britt is saying that, she stands up and she says something like, "I'm not going to hit you, but this bitch is getting on my nerves." And then she blasts Camille in the head with the microphone. And just the way she delivered the line and smacked Camille made me laugh out loud. It was so funny. And then Britt gets up on the top rope and she delivers a high cross body to Mercedes and Camille into the chair that was in the ring for the contract signing. They topple over that, and then Britt holds up the TBS championship as Mercedes and Camille retreat. And you know what that means? Britt's going to lose. Britt and MJF are both going to lose at All In after their beef. They both had the big moment, with the titles standing over their opponents, but they're both going to take L's tomorrow, probably as punishment for their little beef backstage. But I enjoyed the contract signing more than I thought because of how much more I enjoyed one wrestler compared to the other. Now, I still like Mercedes. I still think she's a big star. I still very much like her in the ring. I'm hoping that these two can maybe give us a show-stealing match tomorrow. I think that would really help both. Because, Britt's got a lot of things attached to her name right now with some of that backstage stuff that was going on. And Mercedes has a ton of critics right now. So if these two can really light it up, and you got to remember there's another women's match on this show that they're kind of competing with. So I feel like the two of them should want to go out there and say, hey, let's make our match the best women's match tonight. And I think that motivation, that's the type of internal competition that you want between your wrestlers. You got two women's championship matches on the show. If I'm these four women, I want my match to be better than the other match. Doesn't mean I have anything against the other women in the other match. It's just I want ours to be the best one. So I'm hoping that Mercedes and Britt and Tony and Mariah May can really have a couple of classics here. And I'm hoping that Britt and Mercedes can surprise us, because I really did like the contract signing. And I'm liking Britt. It sucks that Britt Baker had that incident backstage and she did have to go through the suspension, because I'm liking the way she's looking right now. She looks like she's in really good shape. She seems clear. She seems ready to rock. She's sharp on the mic. And I'm excited to see how this match with Mercedes goes tomorrow. I'm expecting Britt to lose, obviously, probably just, a basic finish with help from Camille. But I'm hoping that this match is good. I really want it to be solid tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that one. We had Claudio Castagnoli and Okada going to a time limit draw on Wednesday as well. That was kind of a dream match there and really fun to watch. And speaking of Claudio, last night, Claudio won the 2024 CMLL Men's International Grand Prix. This is a big, giant elimination tag, Team Mexico versus Team World. It featured talent from AEW, Ring of Honor, MLW, New Japan, and Rev Pro. And Claudio came away with the trophy last night, so congrats to Claudio. Collision tonight. Here's what you got. If it hasn't, it's aired for some of you, I guess. I don't even know. I thought it was just airing at normal time tonight, but I got confused by one of the super chats earlier. But on Collision tonight, you're going to see the conglomeration. Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, and Kyle O'Reilly taking on the Undisputed Kingdom. You're going to see Hook versus Big Bill, Willow Nightingale versus Harley Cameron, Chris Statlander Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway in action. So they're going to have a tune-up match for their 0-hour mixed tag tomorrow. Jeff Jarrett versus Arya Davari. Shibata taking on Jay Lethal. And we are going to have a Tony Storm and Mariah May video package narrated by Ben Mankiewicz, who I think hosts the Turner Classic Movies. And we also have a London Ladders qualifier. That fourth team that's going to be entering the London ladder match will be decided. And during the predictions, I actually paused in the middle of them and looked up who it was. I didn't spoil it in the predictions, and I won't spoil it here, but it certainly wasn't Bobby Lashley and MVP like some people were thinking. And speaking of Bobby, along with Ricochet, we could see him turn up in that gauntlet match possibly. I think Bobby Lashley winning the gauntlet match and earning a title shot would make more sense than Ricochet, but I don't really know if Ricochet is going to be a part of the show tomorrow. I don't know where you put him other than the gauntlet match, unless he doesn't wrestle, unless he just comes in and says, hello, I'm here, I signed with AEW now. You could also do a segment, there's time for that. Tony Khan could just bring out Ricochet, and then maybe somebody comes out and confronts him, and Ricochet is able to do a couple flips for the crowd. We'll have to see. The all-in attendance is currently at about 51,000, so they have broken the 50K mark. That's kind of what we had assumed they would do. Even last year, I even think in my all-in 2023 review last year, I said if they come back, they ain't going to do 80,000, they're going to do 50. And that's exactly what they've done. There's a 54,000 seat setup for this, so it's nearly a sellout, and they're going to have, it's going to be close to, I guess, what the SummerSlam crowd was. How many people did SummerSlam have? They might have had more. They might have more like 58 or 60, but it's going to be similar setup to that. So not an 80,000 seat or attended event here. Nothing that the fans are going to debate about turnstiles and all that shit for 2.5 fucking months on social media and getting themselves all butt hurt over an attendance number. So luckily we shouldn't have to deal with that bullshit this year. But it does look like they're going to have a very, very healthy crowd for tomorrow. And looking at the card for tomorrow, in terms of my predictions, there's nothing I would change. I'm looking at it right now. I think all of my predictions that I mentioned on Thursday, I'm going to hold. There's no match on here where my mind has really been changed as of yet. So join us tomorrow for the review. I'm looking forward to watching that show. It's going to be fun. All right, why don't we talk a little bit about last night's SmackDown? Last night's SmackDown was pretty fun. SmackDowns are weird. It's like they're very easy show to watch. I mean, 2 hours is a lot different, but it feels like the show is structured a little differently than Monday Night Raw. It feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't watch SmackDown really live as it airs, because I'm never home on Friday night, so a lot of it I catch replays or match clips or whatever. But it feels like Monday Night Raw is where we see a lot more of these really unique camera shots, these crazy Jey Uso and Sami Zayn entrances. Sometimes we even see segments bleeding into other segments. We'll see two people brawling, and then the camera will follow them out to the ring where something else is happening, and it's two storylines that are kind of, connected via the same segment or via the same camera shot. We don't see any of that on SmackDown, right? It doesn't feel like we do. It feels like these are all individual stories where, Raw just seems like everything is more stirred together, I guess, is the vibe it gets me. And that's like, especially a lot of those camera shots and techniques that we see, it feels like those are happening more on Raw than SmackDown. And I'm so ready for SmackDown to get off of Fox. They've got a couple of weeks left. September 13th, they move over to the USA Network. But for the final SmackDown on Fox, that's next Friday, I'm going to take that night off and I'm going to do a watch along of SmackDown because it's my birthday. Y'all want to hang out with me on my birthday next Friday night? Big SmackDown watch party. We'll hang out. We'll do a podcast and review and whatnot next Friday night. And then on Saturday, that's All Out. 1 week from today, right? Is All Out. No. That's 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm sorry. The final SmackDown, not this Friday, the next Friday. So we have 2 more SmackDowns left on Fox. Friday the 6th, Friday, September 6th, the day before the All Out pay-per-view on September 7th. That's the SmackDown that I want to watch. And I'm really excited for them to get off of Fox because I live on the West Coast, which means SmackDown will not air for me until 8 p.m. my time, which is after when it airs live. And the reason for that is because it's on network TV, and I think they have to air the local news and all the bullshit at that time. Where with Raw, it's different. USA plays it for me at 5 p.m. It plays it live. I don't have to wait until 8 p.m. to watch it. So SmackDown will be the same. When SmackDown finally moves to the USA Network, if I'm ever home, if I find myself home on a Friday night, I'll be able to watch it. But on September 6th, the final SmackDown on Fox, I have to find an illegal stream to watch it if I want to do a watch along. So I know that Jacob and a few other people who frequent the chat have sent me pretty reliable links for SmackDown streams in the past. If anybody has one that they know is a guaranteed lock and will work 100% smoothly and be up to date, and you have a link for me, let me know or send it to me in a DM on Twitter, and I will save it, and I will probably use that to watch SmackDown on September 6th when we do a fun little live stream that night. So just keep that in mind for SmackDown. We have 2 SmackDowns left on Fox before they move to the USA Network on September the 13th. But we will be here on the 6th for a fun Friday night stream, and then we'll be here on September 7th for an all-out watch party. That's going to be a fun weekend. That'll be the weekend after Labor Day. Next weekend is Labor Day weekend. So anyway, little programming note there for you. Last night's SmackDown, there's a couple fun segments on this. I liked the Waller effect with Cody. Yeah, the Waller effect. Cody is out there with those 2 douches, and of course, not only are they leaning into and teasing, Kevin Owens' history and the possibility that he could split or turn on Cody, they've been doing a lot of teases with Waller in theory as well. I don't know how long this has been going on now, but it feels like they've been setting in motion these 2 guys to eventually have a feud with each other for several months, and they still haven't really gone all the way through with it. Maybe it's because they know nobody would give a shit. I know I wouldn't. So eventually we're going to get Waller in theory splitting up. But before we do that, they're going to be talking about Kevin Owens and Cody's match at the pay-per-view at Bash in Berlin. And that's when Grayson Waller directs Cody to look at the video wall there, and they show a video package of all of Kevin Owens' past betrayals, including the best one of the best ones of all time from 2017, the Festival of Friendship with Chris Jericho. So they showed Chris Jericho on WWE TV, which was pretty cool, but you had to show that. If you're going to highlight all of Kevin Owens' betrayals, how do you not show the best one? And of course, there's a couple of Sami Zayn ones as well. Even the Kofi Kingston one they showed when Owens was kind of like a satellite member of the New Day for a while there, and that weird little stint that he did when Kofi was champion. So they went through all that. That was a lot of fun. Owens then comes out to the aisleway there, and he admits that he can't be trusted, but also admitted that the Kofi one wasn't really Kofi's fault. Kofi's actually a nice guy. I really liked that he added that. He's like, what's going to happen now is Nick Aldis is going to come out and make a tag team match for later. We all know how this goes. And Aldis actually does come out right on cue, makes the match. And then Owens asked him, he goes, hey, do we have time? Do I have time to run in the ring and punch them in the face real quick? And Aldis is like, yeah, go ahead, but make it quick. So he runs in the ring. Cody and Owens start brawling with the 2 douches, and Owens gets accidentally shoved into Cody, and there's a little, I don't know. But it was just an accident there, and the 2 of them would face Waller in theory. Later on in a tag match, they would wind up winning that match. Pop-up powerbomb to Waller for the win. Cody and Owens stand together victorious. If they were going to do the turn, they could have done it last night so Owens can go into the championship match with Cody as a heel, or they're going to do it in the match, or they're going to do it after the match, or what might even be more fun to really keep us on our toes is don't turn Kevin Owens at all. Now, it feels like the way they're presenting all this to us on television, he is 1,000% turning. But what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't? Here's an idea. Owens doesn't turn. He teases he's going to turn, doesn't turn. Randy Orton then loses his match to Gunther, heads back to SmackDown, and Randy Orton turns instead. We've all been talking about Cody and Randy Orton. We got to see that at some point. Would Randy Orton and Kevin Owens both turn heel? I don't think there's a rule against that can't happen, and the babyface, roster is strong on SmackDown with Cody and Roman, but Owens may be just teasing all of this only to not turn heel. Feels like it's very Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has a history of betrayals, but Kevin Owens also has a history of keeping us on our toes and doing things that we might not expect and likes to go against the grain sometimes or throw red herrings at us occasionally. And I think it might be fun is if they teased all of this with Owens turning heel, returning to the prize fighter, and then he just doesn't do it. And then Randy Orton comes back, turns heel instead, and he has a feud with Cody Rhodes. That might be fun, but I feel like that's probably unlikely. Everything that we've seen on television is hinting that Kevin Owens will go back to being a heel, and I think he can be an effective one. So once that happens, we'll just have to see if it does happen before they get to Bash in Berlin, or if it's going to happen after, and then these two guys are going to have a return at Bad Blood. That might happen as well. We will see, but the stuff between Cody and Owens has been entertaining enough for me. I think it's going to be a solid match at the pay-per-view. And no, I don't consider Cody Rhodes' title run to be a letdown. I enjoy him as champion. I enjoy what he brings. I enjoy how he engages with the younger audience. He really is doing a lot of what John Cena did, maybe with just being a little bit less fruity pebbly. And one day, I think, unlike John Cena, one day Cody will be a heel. They will not have that fear of turning him heel. Oh, we want him to be a role model for kids and a babyface for life type of thing. I think Cody one day in WWE will make a really fun and effective heel and allow him to not fall into that John Cena Barney Fruity Pebble rut that he was in for so long. So I really like and appreciate Cody in the role that he's in, and I'm proud to call him my champion. We also had the Bloodline cutting a promo last night. And Solo has hinted that he wants next, after Owens and Cody have their match at Bash in Berlin, that he has next. And that makes sense. I mean, if Randy Orton does, come back to SmackDown after losing to Gunther, it would be hard to justify just automatically giving him a championship shot. So if we're going to get Randy and Cody, it feels like that's going to have to come a little bit down the line. So maybe Cody has the match with Owens first, and then Solo at Bad Blood? I don't really want to see Solo and Cody again, but it feels like we might have to at some point, or if this is what's going to take us into Survivor Series, perhaps, and the Bloodline Civil War. But during the promo last night, it's Solo. He's in there with the new Bloodline, and he tells Jacob Fatu, who's still out there with the walking boot, to give his title to Tonga Loa. And the reason he wants to give his title to Tonga Loa is because he can't be a tag team champion if he's going to be his enforcer. So Solo's like, you can't be champion if you're going to be my enforcer. So Solo is stripping his own stablemate of a championship. I thought they were just going to freebird the thing once Jacob got hurt. And I don't know, legally in WWE rules, can you just give a championship to someone else? They've tried it a couple times, didn't really work out. But I know the free bird rule makes things a little weird. So I guess Jacob Fatu is not going to be a tag team champion because he's going to be Solo's enforcer. I think this is probably more of just a cover for Jacob not being fully healed yet, but they want to keep him on TV. He's out there getting physical in his walking boot, but they probably don't want to have him in regular matches right now. And if the Bloodline is going to defend the championships, the fans are going to want him in the ring, unless he's hurt. So this was their way of explaining that it's going to be Tonga Loa and Tama, as your tag team champions going forward, at least until Jacob gets healed from his injury. But until then, he's going to be the group's enforcer. The Street Profits came out with B-Fab, talked some shit in the aisleway. They, of course, had a match later on with the Bloodline for the championships, which they lost. Jacob Fatu got involved. He super kicked Dawkins on the outside with the walking boot, and Tama Tonga hit Dawkins with the finisher in the ring for the win. We had a post-match beatdown. We had the Bloodline putting the boots to the Streets, but DIY comes out to attempt to make the save, but they got taken out and beat down as well. I really, really loved Naomi and Jade and Bianca last night. They were in a 6-woman tag against Alba and Isla and Blair Davenport, and all 3 women had gear that was inspired by Simone Biles. And I knew it with Bianca because hers looked very, very gymnasty. But Jade and Naomi both had gear inspired by Simone over the years at the Olympics, and they looked so good. It was really awesome. Actually, a really fun match. Fun triple suplex spot. Jade Cargill had a super fun hot tag. Babyfaces got the win in this match, obviously, and all 3 women looked tremendous. And it was announced last night that it is going to be Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair taking on Alba Fire and Isla Dawn at Bash in Berlin for the championships. Now, Jade kind of let this slip on a podcast appearance last week or the week before, where she said that her and Bianca would be winning the belts back at the PLE, and they weren't even booked for a match yet at the PLE. So she might have let the cat out of the bag there. Although if they wanted to continue the run of Alba and Isla, I wouldn't care. I like them. I do. I wouldn't mind if they continued this run, and maybe if they were to beat Jade and Bianca, that would tie into Jade and Bianca, at some point, or maybe them splitting up. But if you give them the belts back, then I think they need to have a significant run. And then whenever they do lose the titles, that's when you need to tie in the split. Assuming they are going to have a split. I guess I'm assuming that one day if Jade and Bianca feud, that Jade is going to be the heel. I've spoken for years about how I want Bianca one day to turn heel. I think if you put a killer instinct behind Bianca, she could be unstoppable. I still have very high hopes and dreams for an eventual big WrestleMania match between Bianca and Rhea Ripley. But Rhea Ripley, she's, one of the top stars in the women's division. And Bianca, I feel like, has fallen down a couple of pegs during her alliance with Jade Cargill because they've been confined to the tag division. I would like to see eventually Bianca break out of that and go back to being the dominant Bianca that she was, so we can have that Ripley and Bianca showdown at WrestleMania. And the only way I think we can really get to that is for one of them to win the Royal Rumble and challenge the other one who's champion. So right now, my early pick for the Women's Royal Rumble would be Bianca Belair, and for her to choose and pick Rhea Ripley to face at WrestleMania. But they might want to wait and build to Jade and Bianca at WrestleMania. That might be what they're doing since they've been together this long. I thought they would have already been broken up by now. But now if you're going to put the belts back on them, how are you going to give these two women who are so dominant another 1 month run or 2 month run or whatever it was last time they won the belts? I feel like if they win them again, they have to be a little bit dominant, at least for a while, like maybe until the end of the year. And then early 2025, that's when they lose the belts. They split up. Jade turns heel, and you got Jade and Bianca at WrestleMania. Maybe that's what they're doing. But at some point, I think Bianca needs to return to the level of star that she was. I think it's great that, she's being utilized to help get Jade, get her feet wet and get her in the door and get her rolling on the main roster, and keeping Jade protected a little bit in tags in case she might not be ready for singles action on the reg. This is all great, but it can't last forever. Eventually, Bianca's got to go back to being Bianca. And since apparently she doesn't want to turn heel and she wants to be a role model for little girls, and I can totally appreciate that, but as a fan who's not a little girl, who's 47 years old and a dude, I want to see this woman beat the shit out of some people. I want to see Bianca have the same type of transition that Rhea Ripley had. Once Ripley got involved with that Judgment Day, my God, finally that potential was reached. And with Bianca, she's a great performer. She does so many things well. And I think that if she were to have a killer instinct, I don't think there's anybody that could stop her. She would be scary. Cut that braid off, get a little bit serious, add a submission to your moveset, start closing out some matches by breaking bitches' legs. Oh my God. Inject that into my veins. But apparently Bianca would rather be a role model. Hey, I get it. But eventually, you do that for too long, you're just going to be John Cena. And that's not a bad thing either. It's not like John Cena hasn't found successes in life with that formula. But I feel like creatively, you're almost doing yourself a disservice. That's what I felt about John Cena. I'm like, this guy would be great as a heel. If he came out here and told us all to go fuck ourselves the night after WrestleMania 29, after he beat The Rock and won the title, if he came out and just shit on everybody, and then The Rock comes out and get in his face, and then he beats down The Rock, annihilates him, bloodies him up, sends him packing, and turns into like a Hollywood Hulk Hogan, but he's Hollywood John Cena. He's just a cocky douche. Oh, I thought he would have been great at it, but we never got a chance to see it. I don't want the same mistakes to be made with Bianca. She is too good of a talent, has too much to offer, ring-wise, charisma-wise, and I think if you give her material, she can hit a home run with it. And Bianca, if you're listening, at least consider turning heel one day. I think you'd be great. I think you'd be great. So great. Turn heel and team up with Rhea Ripley, and the two of you form a tag team and start killing bitches. Oh my God. Give me some of that. Bianca, just consider it. Just consider it. And then what about her and Montez? They would be great heels together. Just those flashy, I'm better than you type of celebrity type of vibes, Oh, they'd be great. Cocky. Oh, and they look so good. I mean, they look like superstars. Montez and Bianca walk into any room in the world, heads are turning. So put them together and make them assholes together. I'd like to see that too. There's a lot that Bianca can do besides just dancing and twirling the braid. She's too fucking good to do the same thing forever. So let's change it up, please. We also learned last night on SmackDown that next week on SmackDown in Berlin, not the pay-per-view, but they're going to have a Friday Night SmackDown in Berlin, and that is where LA Knight is going to defend the United States Championship in an open challenge. So we will see who answers the call in Berlin. Any ideas who that might be? Is there a local hero it could be? What other German wrestlers are there right now in WWE? Who could it potentially be next week facing LA Knight? I feel like whoever it is, LA Knight's going to beat. So you wouldn't want some, hometown hero coming in there to face LA Knight. Not sure who. Whoever it is losing to LA Knight, you would think. He's not dropping that U.S. title on the pre-Bash at Berlin SmackDown. No way. Even though it's Berlin and a really cool venue, I'm sure the crowd's going to be hot as all hell. Don't see him dropping the belt next week, regardless of who the challenger might be. I think it might be fun for it to be a babyface. Babyface match, competitive match, win for LA Knight, show respect, handshake, something like that. Might be fun for SmackDown. We will see. No, Sonic, that's what I'm saying. I don't think local hero. If LA Knight was a heel, then yeah, maybe local hero. But this local hero is going to lose. Unless it's a local hero who is getting an opportunity and is an underneath star, is an underdog and fights real hard and, ultimately loses. But still, that's more of a babyface thing to do than a heel thing to do. Could be LA Knight versus Ludwig Kaiser. That is true. It could be Ludwig and his dumb hair. That would be great because I don't like his dumb hair. So if he... Oh, Superman Bass Fisher might have a good one. Giovanni Vinci. What was his name before? I liked his name before. He might be a good one, but, we've already seen return vignettes for him. It seems like they want to ease him in. You bring him right in, give him a title shot now. It's just, it's like what I was talking about with Ricochet. If he shows up tomorrow and wins the gauntlet match, now you got a title shot right out of the gate. What do you do then? What do you do after that? You're just down. So I don't know if Vinci would be the one I'd pick, but that's a good guess. That's a really, really good guess, Giovanni Vinci. I could see it be him, but, if they want to reintroduce him as a new character, he's coming right in and losing. So I'm not sure. Fabian Eichner, thank you. Yeah, he'd have to win, in my mind. He'd have to win the U.S. title. And so it makes sense that it would be him, but then he'd be losing right upon debuting, and I'm not sure. I don't know. Alex Wright. It could be. Oh, I'd love it to be Alex Wright. Oh, can it be? He's young. He's younger than me. I'm pretty sure. Or we might be the same age. No, I think we're the same age, or he's a year older. So I don't even think Alex Wright is 50 yet. So he could do it. Is he still, anybody got eyes on Alex Wright? What's he up to these days? And we know he's alive. What does he do? Dream match, Jade Cargill and Jazzy Gabbert. I don't know if I'd call that a dream match. It'd be an interesting match. I mean, anytime two women who are strong, like physically muscular strong, face each other, that's going to be a good fight. I think that would be good, but I can think of dream matches that I'd maybe enjoy more. I'd like to see Jade Cargill against like Victoria or something back in the day. That could be fun. Okay, yeah, so what's his face? Vinci had another vignette on SmackDown last night, so he's coming. Yeah, that's a pretty good guess, even though I'm not sure how that would work if you just bring him in and have him lose. It's not like he was a huge star anyway, so coming right in and getting a championship shot on a major TV show with a lot of eyeballs on it and a hot crowd could be a good way to bring him in and introduce him. So I guess I'm not against it, but would be interesting that's his debut, getting his ass kicked by LA Knight. Bash at Berlin has got 5 matches on it. Looks like that card is complete, unless Triple H throws a 6th, but I think it's going to be 5. It's Cody versus Kevin Owens for the WWE title, Gunther versus Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight title, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley versus Dominic and Liv Morgan in the mixed tag, Punk and Drew in a strap match. That's going to be fun, and the women's tag team titles on the line with Jade and Bianca taking on Isla and Alba. I guess I didn't even know they have a tag team name. What is their tag team name again? It's like Unholy Union or something. I never knew that their team had a name until last night when I was making notes. Yeah, Unholy Union. I never knew their name was Unholy Union. I don't hate that as much as I hate Pure Fusion Collective. Oh my God. Horrible. Here's what we have for All In tomorrow, by the way. And I can briefly just give you my predictions if you don't want to watch Thursday's video, but I invite you to watch it. It's low on views, so it needs some love. Go give my predictions a view and a like, if you don't mind. But we've got I've got Willow and Ishii over Stoke and Stat on the 0 hour. I've currently picked Hangman Page to win the gauntlet match, but I think Ricochet could be a candidate there. I think the Patriarchy is going to win the London ladder match. I've got the Bucks retaining their tags over FTR and the Acclaimed. I think Hook is going to regain the FTW title from Jericho. I've got Jack Perry beating Darby Allin in the coffin match. I don't see a reason to put... Would it be a fourth? Would it be a 4th TNT title reign on Darby if he won? I think it would, right? 4th? Jesus. That's too many. I'm going Jack winning the coffin match there. I've got Mercedes beating Britt Baker. I've got Mariah May beating Toni Storm. I feel like I might be wrong about that, but if you're going by what happens in the movie, I think Mariah May has to win the championship here. I definitely have, especially after what we saw happen on Dynamite. Will Ospreay is 1,000,000,000% beating Maxwell Jacob Friedman for that American championship, and hopefully he will repurpose it or pull out the international title because that belt has already undergone its 3rd name change. So if we can bring it back, pump the brakes a bit, that would be good. And I have Bryan Danielson beating Swerve Strickland to win the AEW championship. You could do something nuts and tie in a heel turn, but I think when I pitched that, a lot of fans thought I was crazy. I don't think you need to reinvent the wheel in this match. I don't think you need to have anything crazy happen like a Shane McMahon appearance or anything. I think this match can just straight up happen and Danielson can straight up win. And he can straight up celebrate with the fans raising their hands straight up in the air, chanting yes, with Brie Bella crying at ringside with Birdie and whatever the fuck his son's name is there with him to share a hug and a family moment. And Danielson getting the win that I thought he should have had a year ago. Or maybe it was even before that, maybe 2 years ago. Whenever the nonsense happened with Punk and they had to strip him, I remember I guess it was 2 years ago now. I remember making a whole video about how Danielson needs to be the guy to hold the AEW title. He's a respected legend who would be the perfect person to represent your company right now during these times of turmoil. And I made a big pitch for him. Why wouldn't you want this guy who's a bona fide Hall of Famer, arguably the best wrestler in the world? He's had major runs all over the world in every company, including WWE, and a milestone WrestleMania main event victory, winning the championship there. You would absolutely want Bryan Danielson's name in your title history. When you're looking at former AEW world champions, Danielson's name already not being in there is criminal. So it is time. If I'm Tony Khan, Danielson could very well be a big part of my company for many years to come. If Danielson transitions into a part-time wrestling role and maybe a behind-the-scenes role, where maybe he starts having a job, or he has a level of authority similar to what Triple H had in WWE for many years, and he's kind of maybe a right-hand man or confidant to Tony Khan. I feel like that's what Tony should try to do. I feel like when people try to, because every wrestling locker room and all wrestling promotions have had issues with bookers and creative teams and people in charge with the book and the pencil. WCW had it, TNA had it. WWE seemed a little bit more stable because you always had Vince McMahon at the top and no one else. But if you're not WWE and you don't have that Vince McMahon, every other promotion, throughout history has kind of struggled in this regard, and there's no winning formula for it yet. So with Tony Khan, you got a situation here. Okay, you got the one man in charge. That's good, but he seems to lack some of the leadership capabilities that Vince McMahon did. By the way, today is Vince McMahon's birthday, and I would like to wish Vince McMahon from the bottom of my heart, a very, very shitty birthday. Vince, I hope it's the shittiest birthday you've ever had. Fuck you, you disgusting pervert. Anyway, it also feels like AEW has that formula of the guy on top. It's just something needs to be, I guess, organized better creatively. If he's still writing all the shows, booking every match, making every decision. We don't know if that's the case or not, but it feels like it is. I feel like maybe Tony Khan needs to start forming his own inner circle. How Vince started when he bought the company from his dad. He had, Monsoon and Skoland and Strongbow, and, he had Lanza and Goulet and Slaughter and Patterson and Briscoe. He had kind of like a circle, Bruce, and a lot of these guys were yes men, but still he had a circle of trusted people that he could send out to perform actions and deliver messages. And maybe Tony Khan needs that. Now they've got great people in AEW. It's not like competent people don't exist backstage. There's a ton of people there who have had leadership roles before, and also there are people there who are longtime veterans, retired wrestlers. You got your Christopher Daniels, back there. You've got your Pat Bucks, I believe, right? Jeff Jarrett is even there now. So there's plenty of people who have not only been in leadership roles, but do have experience with, the backstage running of wrestling shows. And so creatively, with Tony Khan, I just hope that and wish that he would have a better team or, a good team around him, and he would allow more people to make decisions, I guess. I don't really know what the right answer. Nobody does, but I feel like a little bit more delegation perhaps, or I don't know if you want to necessarily, hire a writing team to write your stories and then you're just approving them instead of you just coming up with the ideas yourself. I feel like that might be what they should do, is try to have a little bit more consistency and continuity from that aspect, and instead of just one guy doing everything. So with Tony Khan and his duties there, Danielson, I'm hoping can be a big part of their future and, a big part of the behind the scenes atmosphere that can be one that has as few distractions as possible, and every locker room is going to have disagreements, fights and beefs and whatnot. WWE has them. Every locker room has had them, but AEW's never really had that Undertaker type of figure there. That one backstage leader that universally everybody respects. CM Punk might have tried to be that, but a lot of people fucking hated CM Punk. Where with The Undertaker and even with Andre, back in the day when they were present in the locker room, you minded your P's and Q's. And I don't know if AEW or even WWE for that matter these days really has that figure there. WWE might, but AEW definitely does not. So, I think Danielson being a part of AEW's internal structure in the future would benefit them and just pro wrestling in general. So I'm hoping that when Danielson's in-ring career is over, he sticks around in AEW. It would be great to see him come back to WWE and do a Hall of Fame and whatnot, but I also feel like AEW could greatly benefit from having somebody like Danielson who does come across as someone who's genuine, honest, impartial. When he has to make a difficult decision, he will. He was a part of the disciplinary committee that chose to let go and fire CM Punk, and Danielson and CM Punk are friends. So he seems like he is capable of jumping into these roles and making a difficult decision when he has to, because he's built up enough good faith, in wrestling amongst his peers and in the community, to where he has to make a difficult decision. It's one that you can respect. And I think he's one of the only guys to where if he makes decisions, fans aren't going to automatically question, and assume he's being dishonest or selfish or acting in his own interest or whatever. Everybody's always, digging for those ulterior motives. And I think Danielson's got enough of a reputation to where if he was in a backstage authority role, which apparently he already is kind of involved in because he's handing out fines and whatnot, he is somebody that will have and command enough respect. So maybe he's a start, to really hopefully putting an end to issues AEW might have from, a locker room morale standpoint, TV time standpoint, making sure that the right talent is sharing the time and getting enough of their stories out there. So if you can clean up the backstage environment and also make all of the talent happy with the amount of TV time and exposure they're getting, that's the mix there. But unfortunately, we don't have the answer to this. We don't know what the answer is or what the exact right formula is. We can only guess and speculate. So hopefully some of these problems that AEW has had over the last couple of years will continue to get better. And especially if Danielson is somebody that's going to stay around and stick around in that company behind the scenes, I think he only helps them. And if he were to leave, I would be a little bit worried. So hopefully Danielson walks out of Wembley tomorrow with the championship. I sure as hell am rooting for him. So that is pretty much it for my notes. I told you guys it was going to kind of be a light episode this week because my news was light and it was mostly just hyping up tomorrow. And we got a big one at All In. I'm looking forward to it. Let's see what you guys have to say here in the chat, and we'll hang out for a few minutes here before I go. I know I have some super chats to answer. Let me scroll all the way back, get back to where I was. Ha! Ahmed, I legit just checked to see if you had a new video and you are live. Isn't that great when you check one of your favorite creators for new content and you see new content, or you see that fun little live red light? I know with some of the YouTubers I watch, I see videos, 3 of them have got new videos that I can't wait to watch when I get home from my long ass night of work tonight. So that's always fun. Let me see. Some shout outs too. I didn't hit everybody today. I'm sorry about that. But if I see your name like Hashway, like Barry, my boy, Isaac, Steve Jacobson, Gilbert Arbalo, Martin Tomlinson, Ian Dunn, always happy to see you. William Brown in the house. Miles Muhammad, JP Reckless, Chantal Hilly, 89. Yeah. And yeah, your feelings on feel free. I'm not telling you guys have to feel the way I do about Ronda Rousey's apology. I don't give a shit how you feel. If you don't want to forgive her, that's your right. That's your total right. So I'm fine with anybody who's like, nope, sorry, Greg, not good enough for me. I don't forgive her. It's your choice, man. It's totally your choice. Good to see Arthur Jones as well. Zach Palgett, Victor Colon. I don't think I said hello to you guys earlier, and I always like to say hello to y'all. Tony, lots to say. I did not see this. There is a photo shoot of Kairi Sane and Mina Shirakawa that's heartwarming. I got to see that. Is this something new? That's awesome. Mina and Kairi are trending. Okay, so this must have recently happened. I can't wait to see that. Are they really trending? Let me refresh the twatters here. See if I see anything about that. Not currently. If anybody wants to tweet me the picture, I'll look it up, but I don't want to pause and actually search for something right now in the middle of all this. Let me see. I know where there's Off Leather Wings. I was looking for you. I knew Off Leather had $5 in there for us earlier on that I wanted to acknowledge. Thank you for that, man. Where does the WWE era's timeline go after Ruthless Aggression? Was 2009 through 24 all one era? I consider 2015 a new era when Roman became the new guy. Yeah, I guess, shit, I don't know, man. I think it would probably go Attitude Era through, 2001, I guess, and then the WWE era started in 2002 when they changed the name, and that probably went until, I would probably go '08 on that. I would say like that era, like maybe the Ruthless Aggression era, maybe went from like 2002 to 2007 to like around when the Benoit tragedy happened, and then maybe 2008 through 2015, we can just call that the shit era. And then 2015 to 2022 was even the smellier shit era. So it goes from shit to smellier shit. Now we're in whatever this great era is. And I'm glad, because in all my years of doing YouTube, most of the time has been spent in crappy eras. So it feels very good to be a content creator when shit's fun to watch. It's way more fun. But I don't know. You guys are probably better at naming the eras and maybe even sectioning off their years than I am, but that would kind of be my general idea of how you do that. Juliet. Yeah, I mentioned that at the beginning of the podcast here. We were all in here 1 year ago. We were predicting All In 2023, and we were paying tribute to Terry Funk, who just passed away the day before. And we learned that Bray Wyatt passed away at the age 36, and we learned that together. Rough stuff. It was definitely the biggest breaking news that we've ever had in the middle of one of our streams before, for sure. Learning something like that was just rough. I posted a clip of us learning that this morning on Twitter, and it is crazy that we lost, Funk and Wyatt in back-to-back days like that. What a week. You had Funk's death, then Wyatt's death, then we went into All In, and then you had the big fight with CM Punk and Jack Perry and all of that distraction around the pay-per-view. My God, what a mess. But I'll be looking very much forward to hanging out with you guys tomorrow and reviewing All In. It's going to be fun. I got to get up pretty early here on the West Coast. I need to be in front of the TV by about 9, 10 o'clock in the morning to start watching this thing, and I still need to purchase the pay-per-view as well. So I will be watching the pay-per-view tomorrow. Shoot me a follow over on Twitter at GoodMikeWork, because since I'm not doing a live watch party or reaction, I will be live tweeting instead, tweeting my thoughts on the show and the matches. And like I said, about an hour after the show goes off the air, we'll be up here for a review. It is currently scheduled for 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, but I might bump that another half an hour later if the pay-per-view goes long. We do have 10 matches tomorrow. I'm expecting AEW's been really good with the timing, and they did a terrific job, I thought, at Forbidden Door with all of those matches. So I'm expecting this just to be a 4-hour show. There should be no complaints about it being too long. It's too long. AEW shows are too long. If it goes over 4.5 hours, it's too long. But I think 4 hours is perfectly fine. So I think they're going to cram it all in. All 9 matches on that main card, 1-0 hour within a 4-hour span. Tomorrow should be fun to watch. You guys have a great rest of your Saturday. I appreciate you being here with us this afternoon. And I'll be back at it tomorrow to review the pay-per-view, and I cannot wait to do that. So enjoy your Saturday evening. Catch us tomorrow for the All In review, and we'll see you then.